Welcome back to Beauty Marks Podcast. My name is Elizabeth Savion, and thank you for joining me on another episode. Here we talk about all things healing, cultivating community, and embracing our story. I am so glad you're here with me in Hi Hello Labs and with my coffee, but first coffee shop, shameless plug, to enjoy. Today's a Friday, but I know this goes out on a Monday, and so I hope you're having a great Monday so far. If you haven't left a review, I would love to hear from you what you have loved this year, which episode and what guest episode you have loved. And I wanted to read a review today of this podcast. It says, "I'm beyond thankful for this podcast. Elizabeth's vulnerability and willingness to share her story is changing lives. I resonate so deeply with her story, and I know I can't be the only one. I also love when she brings in guests, as it feels like she truly selects people that bring an abundance of value and share their own unique stories. Her podcast is helping heal deep wounds and even help her listeners avoid potential heartbreak, triggers, and etc." Thank you so much for that review. And I love hearing what you guys are enjoying, what you guys have learned throughout the episodes that we share, and maybe it's kind of like a therapy. I've had a friend tell me it feels like a therapy session while I'm listening to some of the episodes, because I know that not everybody goes to therapy, and that is completely understandable. And I just hope that they're just something that encourages you, that helps you in your walk and your journey. So this week's podcast episode, I wanted to let you guys know I will be taking a break. I know, we're so sad, which is honestly kind of hard during this time because there's so many things that happen, like with the holidays, with a lot of family dynamics. But I also feel like I need time to just sit with myself, plan for the next year, take a break, enjoy the holidays. And as much as there's just so much content that is happening and things that are happening, I will have to just be selective and plan out for what guests we're going to have for next year and do a little rebrand. I know I briefly talked about that, but I feel like some of the branding, which again, I love my pink as I'm wearing today, but I do want to do a new cover photo, and I want to just be more selective of what are the topics that we're doing, the colors, maybe some things new coming. So I'm just super excited for what 2025 is bringing. I feel like this year for me personally has been a challenge, with my my mental health, with some family dynamics. But I'm also super grateful for all the growth, for all the amazing opportunities that I have had within speaking. I'm actually doing a panelist opportunity in Tampa next week, and I'm just so excited. So I feel like this year, 29 is that weird year in my life, and I feel it already because it's you're almost 30. And you're trying to set yourself up for 30, but then at the same time, you're still 29 and you're I'm still a baby. I'm still figuring things out, And as I've shared before, that is a huge part and reality that we all are still figuring out. So it's not that you have to get to the place of accomplishment, you've accomplished so much and you should be so proud of yourself. And that's what I always like to reflect on. I am not where I was, and that's a beautiful thing, but I'm also still evolving and growing, And so with taking some time off, I'm going to dedicate some time to writing, which that is a huge priority for me for next year. And I feel like this year with lifing, I genuinely kind of took a step back from that. And so I am dedicating also these next, I would say 2 months to do that, And so I know that with the holidays coming up, so many things happen, you're around family again. Maybe if you're single like me, you start feeling maybe the loneliness that comes when you're seeing all people's highlight reels and with family dynamics. I was actually talking to a therapist the other day that she's this time is so busy because everyone's oh my God, I have to deal with family again. Because around the holidays, November, December, you start dealing more with your family dynamics. Maybe throughout the year, you can kind of skip that. But usually most families, they get together, or that family member that you see once a year, that is when it happens. So this can bring up a lot of emotions, a lot of things. And I think for myself, I'm already prepping of certain boundaries I have to place. So last week we talked about grief and what that looks like. And so I think that if you haven't listened to that episode, make sure to do so, because sometimes you grieve certain family dynamics that change, and that can be hard. I have walked through that. I'm walking through that, and that's not easy to do, especially when you maybe were raised around a certain family member and you have had to cut ties. And so joy and grief can coexist together in a weird way, but it is possible. And so I know that this time also, if let's say your community, like you don't have like the solid friend group, maybe you just moved, maybe you are in a new season of your life and you feel like your friends are not in the same season and you're kind of figuring that out for yourself, it can sometimes be lonely. You can feel sad, So I wanted to give you guys some tips of what I encourage you to work through during this season. And so this is something that maybe, even though we're going to be taking a break, you can come back to this episode as a way to encourage, or just those little reminders that you need on those days that maybe you feel like, I don't know how I'm going to get through this. This is so hard. And just know that a lot of the times it's a temporary feeling, but it's still valid. And so like how I said, grief and joy can coexist. So you can still feel the sadness or like the mourning. Maybe you had a loss in this time, and you can still also do something really fun that you feel happy in the moment. And it's okay to do that. It's okay to feel both, And another part is taking the time you need to yourself. I think a lot of the time during the holidays, we have a lot of great, amazing things that are happening. And we see a lot of amazing things happening. Like we see all the commercials of happy families and the couples and the proposals that happen around this time. And it's so amazing. But what happens, which we all do, we can start comparing ourselves and we can start saying like, wow, like that's how it should be. I should be super happy around my family. I should be getting engaged at this place. I should be celebrating with my first child. Like, we start comparing ourselves subconsciously because of the marketing, because everything around us is joyful, and maybe you don't feel like that at the moment. So taking the breaks that you need, maybe it's off social media for a little bit, maybe it's not doom scrolling, because those are ways that we cope, which sometimes we think that we're doing a service to ourselves by that, but we're actually not, And so just being mindful of how much time you're consuming yourself with other people's content, with all the ads, with all that stuff that can start, maybe affecting you. So doing a mental check-in, something that I do every year, literally the last week of December, like those awkward days between like the 25th and the 1st, I take like a social media break. And so that is so helpful for me because I'm like, these days, let me just chill. Let me just take a step back. And it is super helpful. And even maybe to start the year off. So that is something that I recommend, as well as saying yes to things when you want to say. This is a two-part. So some of us struggle to say no. So maybe for you, you're like, say no and speak up. And maybe if you're overcommitting yourself, say like, okay, what do I want? How can I prepare myself for the holidays where you're going to have a lot of things happening, a lot of family dynamics, a lot of invitations, so many events and presents and everything. And maybe that means that you need to take a step back and say no, because every no allows you to say yes to something that you really want to do. But every yes means that you're saying no to something else. So you can't do both. So during this time, make sure to be intentional about what you're saying yes to and that you really want to do. And some things it's maybe like, okay, I'm going, but I'm only going to go for 2 hours and that's my boundary. Or you're like, I have been isolating this season and I should say yes to these things because I need that. Like I need to be around people, because sometimes we isolate because we feel like we're the downer or we're like, not in the best spirits. But it's great to be around, people that that can bring you joy, that you can just laugh and enjoy, and be around other people. So that's that two-part of yes and no. Doing things that bring you joy around the season, even though, again, like you see all the consumption of things, of marketing, doing things that bring you joy in this time, in the midst of while you're also doing stuff for other people, is so important. Because what happens, and I see it with myself, I see it with my friends, that we get so stuck in the doing and like the hosting and the prepping that we stop doing the basic stuff that we used to do during this time. So if that's like you take Pilates or you go for walks every day, well, now because you have all this like scheduled time, then you're always doing things for others that you stop doing those normal things and routines. And so as much as you can, trying to continue those things throughout your week so that you still have something to look forward to that's for you. And you still have to take breaks when you need to, because that is something that I feel like around this time, it just can get so lost, and even the routines of life. And a part of it's normal because it's the holidays, but a part of it is also like, what do you need to do to make sure that you're okay? Because then you're able to give from a full cup. The other part is volunteering and helping others. Around this season, a lot of the times when we feel like we are not doing well or we feel sad, we're focusing on ourselves. And a huge part of it, again, is that self-care. But then there's just something about when you go outside of yourself to help other people that just brings so much joy. So seeing those opportunities as like, okay, maybe this year, I saw this video on TikTok of this woman that her grandma passed away, and she was in hospice for some time. And so when she passed away, she just felt like, I need to go back to the hospice and like be around elderly people that don't have visitors. And so she was saying that she like made some friends that way. And like, she just really saw the impact of being that person for someone else, even though she was in her grief with her own grandma. And I thought that was like a beautiful example of that. Like sometimes within your pain, you can still serve others, and that just brings so much joy back to you, and she got to meet and talk with someone else and like even make certain relationships through that. So serving in your community, serving other people is a great way to start. So the last thing is hosting other people, hosting an event, a gathering. I know as a single person, you see the families together, the couples together, that you're like, sometimes it's stuff that's just for them and you maybe feel left out. And a huge part of my own healing and growth has also been to see that I can host those things too. Meaning I can do the Friendsgiving, I can host the Christmas parties, I can bring the girls together, I can bring my family together. And so you don't always have to wait to be invited to things. You can also host, and you can also be the one that brings and creates those new traditions, creates those new experiences for people. Because if that's something that you desire, it's like you don't always have to wait for that to happen. You can make that happen for you. And so I share on Instagram, and I have a little like tab for hosting, but if you ever have questions about that, let me know. And it can be something super simple, but you would be surprised how many people are also looking for that. Maybe you see like other single girls in your community or in your church or other thing that you're like, hey, like, do you have a place to go? Or like, would you like to like maybe go out and do something for Christmas time, and you would be surprised how many people are open to that and would love to do that. And they just would love someone else to extend that invitation. So those are just some tips that maybe can help you during this time, just knowing that you will get through this. It's just a few months, but also making sure to have the support that you need, taking the breaks as needed, and be intentional about this time, because I know when you live in automatic, I feel like all the amazing things can be happening, but you're just not there. And I want you to enjoy this season. I want you to like feel okay, within, and just know that maybe if you're having some hard boundaries to set, or maybe you just lost someone, or maybe you just went through a breakup, or you're in one of those seasons, I'm so sorry. And I'm here for you if you need to talk to someone, and just know that there are so many people that are navigating through this time that it's not that easy. It's not the highlight reel. And so you are not alone. I hope that you take these tips as something that you can look back to, as well as if you need a place to make and cultivate friends. And if you're an Orlando girly, we have our friendship social November 16th, which she cultivates orl.com. As well as in January, we have our vision board party. And so that is a time to bring women together, to plan, to dream, to create, and cultivate healthier friendships in 2025. And so we are so excited for that. We're actually doing a huge planning this month, as well as, with taking the break also to like be with family and friends and all of that. And so I'm just so thankful for each of you guys for tuning into this week's podcast episode and for being a part of this year. We are so grateful, and I'm so thankful for making it to this time, and I hope you get some rest. I hope you enjoy your holidays, and a happy new year. I guess I will see you in 2025.